How do I get to turn?
So
Just
next
a
to
second.
the
Here we go. We're live.
Yeah. Okay, so so you got a lot of practice doing doing those.
I just need to practice making the holes smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. Which isn't too hard. I can show you some tricks. And this is a good idea to do the stringing braid before the bass
Before I do
strings.
the bass strings, yep.
You learned that from your last restringing.
My last restringing.
The other Kimball.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah, these are coming along.
And it's coming along.
Yep. Yep, you're almost there. How's your torque? You checking your torque?
I've been checking my torque too.
Okay. And where's your low and high on your torque?
My low end of torque.
Yeah, low end. Have you had to put any oversized pins in or?
Oh no.
No. Okay. So
No.
what's the lowest torque that you can remember on the ones that you've done on this piano?
So I think the lowest torque is about 100.
Oh, great. Good. And the highest
120.
120. Perfect. That's the right range.
I've been checking that too.
That's great.
So anyway.
Good. Yeah, this is looking good. Yep. And your coils, let's look at his coils. Can we look at your coils?
Of course.
Of course. Great. Nice and tight. Yeah, I don't see any gaps.
I need to give him another to do now.
I know. And all of these strings you've used your stick, so they're all spread out. Good, according to how they were.
Yep, I checked that before I started the bass strings.
Great. Something that I would like you to do is I would like you to wear gloves. Not the leather gloves, but the nitrile
Nitrile, okay.
gloves, yeah. Especially when working with the bass strings. It's probably not a huge deal. And I think that if you do get any finger oils on them, I don't think it really shows up for a long time. But I don't know. I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
And you might have to change, but I think it's a good idea to keep your degree of oil, of human oil. What do you call that? Finger stuff. Okay, let's look at Scott's bridge.
It's looking very nice.
Oh, this is gutsy to use. I wonder if that would be okay. It's working. Have you had a problem with it before? I've never done it. Okay. I made sure all the screws were tight and everything before I did, but it looks like it's
Seemed to do okay.
looks like it's holding. Okay. So that's looking good, Scott. Thanks. Did you even lacquer that? That looks really good. I sanded the rest of it a little bit just to get some of the dirt off, so re-lacquered it. Wow. So what Scott's done here is this bridge. This was a tough project. Yeah, this was kind of a weird one. This was a weird one. Scott really had a hard time getting this bass bridge off. Well, let me back up even a little bit. The old bass bridge was so trashed that these pins, you could literally just pull them out with your fingers. So it was all cracked, and that's really, really bad for the tone. And I think it was even to the point, like on some pianos where you play the bass notes, which is what these are. This corresponds to the bass strings. You play some of the bass strings, and they just sound awful because they're not really making a good connection, and you kind of get you sort of get used to that sound, or fixing pianos that have that sound to the point where you can kind of distinguish, oh, that's a bad bass bridge. You can just hear it, and this piano I think was to that point. So what Scott has done is he removed the bass bridge and then cut off the old cap. Was it a cap or was it just a solid piece? Just a solid piece. Okay, so he removed about a 1/2 inch of the solid piece right there, and then made this new cap. What'd you make it out of?
It's maple.
Yeah, and then and made the dimensions. Did you do 3 dimensions?
Yeah.
Made all 3 of these dimensions exactly the same as what it was, and then using where's the Mylar? And then using this Mylar pattern, and I think you actually improved the old pattern, if I
Yes,
remember
I did.
correctly. Yeah.
There were a few that were out of line.
Yeah, I saw that. So this is a pattern of the old bass bridge, and what we were talking about just a second ago is some of these little holes. I don't know how well they're coming through in the video. Some of them were out of line. They were just kind of a wavy, zigzaggy line of all of these holes. So he straightened those out and then transferred that pattern to the new bass bridge. And then you just glued this, I think, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. So it should be ready for restringing now. Ready for strings.
Yay!
Yeah, that's on your calendar.
It was supposed to be today,
Okay, but you're
but I'm
probably half day behind.
about half day to full day behind.
No, it won't take you a full day to finish
I don't
those.
know. It's not going to take me a full day.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, half day
half day. Yeah. Okay.
out.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not too bad, but
How were you able to reinforce the bridge or the soundboard?
So most of it is just from the clamping here, because the clamps are pushing down against the ribs,
Okay.
and so I don't think I'll need to do any screws or anything with the ribs because that was pressing them back together. And then there's also the 3 screws underneath that go up into the bridge
Okay.
to kind of help clamp it together.
And how about some of the separation of the soundboard? Seems like it was kind of parallel right in there.
I'm gonna look at it again once I get the clamps off, but I put a bunch of glue just between the cracks and it seemed to be putting them together pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't a clean break. It was just kind of a bristly,
Yeah,
woody sort of coming apart.
and that was mostly at kind of a diagonal, so there was still room for it to go back together.
Okay, at a diagonal. Got it. Yeah, that'll do it. Well, the joints are, hey McKinley. The joints anyway are they're just butt joints. So, so diagonal is better even. Okay. Well, we're gonna come back to this project in just a minute. First time to look at the Schaefer. So the story on the Schaefer is that's a piano that we got from Carl. And it was completely missing some of the trap work. So the left pedal is the shift pedal, also known as the una corda, And the middle pedal on this one is, I believe it's just a bass sustain, is all that is. And it was missing altogether the unicorda. Does everybody know what the unicorda or shift pedal trap work looks like normally? Why don't we look on another piano? Shine some light under there. So this Schaefer was missing the, thanks Stacy. It was missing that piece altogether. And that is such an extremely custom piece.
It's a lot.
And it's like metalworking and,
Wow. So, let's see it.
so my plan was actually to, that lyre kind of crooked. Do you see it? Kind of. I'm looking, well,
Maybe it's the lighting.
maybe it is. Anyway.
I think it's not screwed in all the way to.
Maybe slightly.
that one doesn't.
So when we redid this piano's from the 70s, there's no way that we'd be able to find the original metal component, and we don't do a whole lot of metal work around here. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
And so so yesterday I spent a few hours putting together I used pin block, just glued and screwed some pin block together to make a weird shaped thing that works. So Bryce finished it up. So I built the actual pin block piece that goes in there, and then I just said, Bryce, I gotta go. Here, you finish this up. So you took it from there. What did you do?
I ended up having to sand a little bit of the top. I was a little worried that it needed to be sanded more, but Scott kind of comforted me on that. I ended up putting, it was, the part of it was going up and just hitting the piano, so I ended up putting a piece of leather there.
Good.
Put another piece of leather for the rod. Just screwed it all in.
And there was no rod also.
Yeah, and then I just built that.
Good.
Yeah.
And it's working?
Yeah?
Awesome. Okay, let's look at it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get a chance to paint it.
Oh, that's fine.
I was thinking
Ooh, that looks good, Bryce.
Looks really good.
Bryce, nice job.
That's awesome. Look what you guys built. It's incredible.
So this rod was altogether missing. This was missing, this rod, and then this thing was missing also. And like I said, usually it's made of metal. I think because it has to, because it's put under so much stress. So instead of trying to find a machine shop to make a highly custom piece, we just made it out of pin block, which is super tough. And I was actually worried that even that wouldn't be strong enough. And I was thinking I'd have to reinforce, particularly under there. That's where this is the business end of the shift pedal. I was concerned that wouldn't be strong enough to hold. And it's still, who knows, maybe 5 years down the road it'll break. but I've got my fingers crossed. Pin block is really, really tough, so I think it'll hold. Anyway, yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Nice job, Bryce. Okay.
I had to take apart the lyre, the bottom.
Yeah.
They had this weird. So I guess the original spring was lost. And
Yeah.
Someone else did some weird repair.
Yeah.
I took apart their repair. I used the spring they used,
Okay.
kind of manipulated it. I drilled a hole through the rod that I made, put the spring through that, just like I was working with the tuning pin.
Good.
Kind of made a hitch pin to hold the spring onto the rod, so the spring wouldn't go all wonky.
Yeah.
So it'd stay in its place.
Awesome.
So, and I made it as least noisy as possible. So.
Nice. Is it moving?
I can see.
Oh yeah, it's moving. That's what we want. And it feels.
This goes out a little later today.
Yeah, we like to go right up to the wire. It had some finish issues, still does.
Yeah, Julio said something about maybe doing a little bit more today. I don't know
It definitely needs it.
about that. So yeah, hopefully.
Okay. You should be here in 10, 15 minutes. Stacy will play her Mexican music. Mexican Mr. McFeely. Okay, nice. The middle pedal is just a bass sustain, which, yeah.
Are we gonna do anything with that?
It's a pretty useless feature. It is a useless feature. I would say if Julio finishes his portion in time, and we have a couple hours before it's delivered, then yes, we'll do something with that. If not, we'll just say sorry. We couldn't do it.
I mean, if it ends up being a worthless pedal, then I could have just used that rod and just not even built a new one.
Yeah.
But now there's a cool looking rod.
That's really cool.
I'm proud.
Yeah, it looks good.
I was gonna use
And it's
steel.
even the same. It even has the same like height
Yeah,
level of the little dowel thing on top.
yeah.
I noticed that.
I made the threading on the rod the same distance as the brass rods and just all of that.
Nice job, Bryce. Looks good.
I was gonna use a steel bolt.
Uh-huh.
Julio convinced me to not do that and just use wood because it's a little easier to drill a 2-inch hole in a piece of wood.
That's a little easier.
Yeah, I was like, okay, fine. I probably would have screwed it up drilling 2 inches into a steel bolt.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
Yeah.
Nice. That was actually better than what I was expecting.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice job. Okay. Well, let's work on the Weber. Or the
Lester.
Lester. The
Forgot
lady's
to
name
for a
is
second.
Weber.
Yeah, let's see if we can figure out.
Yeah, what's going on? Actually, I'll bring my tools.
Where are you at on it?
In the regulation process,
Yeah.
Now I'm for sure done leveling the keys. I've done that twice now because something wonky happened. I still haven't figured it out why that happened, but now it's leveled again. But then I'll have to go through all the rest of the regulation again.
It'll be pretty close though.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long. It'll all just be little adjustments.
Okay, so what's going on?
So when we take out the action, it's like near impossible to get it back in unless you get a screwdriver through the strings over there and push down and right here. So it goes under that lip, the dag.
So is it like warped?
Something, yeah. Scott was saying when you guys were doing the pin block, the bed came loose or whatever, and you guys had to fix that.
It did?
I remember that.
Yes.
This joint down here came loose.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
We glued it back together. I don't know if that had something to do with it. I feel like
Possibly.
it shouldn't have affected it that much. I don't know. But it goes underneath. It fits in almost perfectly. It's a little tough to get in without the stack on, but then the stack makes it even more difficult to get it in there. With the stack off, I was able to just use my hand to push down and get it in.
I wonder if we could kind of round off the back maybe a little bit, just so that it's not like square edge hitting square edge.
So it
But if
can
it's
maybe
rounded, it'll kind of like ramp down.
hopefully do that. Okay. Sure.
You wanna try that?
It's piece right there.
And Jake, do you want to grab something to do the same thing on the underside lip? Maybe get a file to kind of, so there's a thing coming out, and if that were also kind of rounded, so that then we have kind of rounded square, or rounded edge, meeting rounded edge, and it'll kind of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not a file, maybe just a hammer sandpaper sand file.
Probably gonna need a lot more than that.
Yeah, we keep going. It looks like it goes all the way in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can give it a lot more, I think. Does it catch on any of the other guys? So there's 3 more guys. Does it catch on any of those others? Or just that one?
Normally not, but Scott and I did find that when we did push down this side, the other side wants to go up. But as long as you get those other 2 in and then get this one in, then it worked.
See if that'll fit
kinda
in
weird.
there.
can.
Can you get it so it's just sanding the edge? Because we want to maintain the dimension when the action is slid all the way back. We want to maintain that dimension, but we just kind of want to take off the edge to allow the action to slide under there fully. Is that something thin for firework?
About the same thickness. So we got one of those little tiny ones.
Let's try it. So do you still have to have you re-leveled already?
Yeah. Seems like when you do get it under all 3 dags, then it is
It's
leveled.
nice oh, good.
So, yeah. But now that I've re-leveled it, all the hammer lines, not much of a hammer line anymore.
Oh, but you know what? I think you'll have to re-regulate a little bit, but not.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too much.
No,
just
you're not-
little adjustments.
Yeah.
Again. Just recheck everything. Can probably try that.
Yeah, and then this dimension will
Yeah.
will
Right
remain.
up to it, I want it the same.
Yeah.
Work any better. If not, we'll just put a note to the next technician 20 years down the road. When you take that action out, make sure to push it down a little bit so it goes back in so you don't break something.
Well, you want to try it?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So that side going in. This side still doesn't load.
What if you lift up the front with the back go down?
And it worked.
Okay.
Sweet.
This has screws all along. Let's see. Is it just these two?
Just the 2 ends.
Here and here? Okay.
sounds like a good strike point. And the regulation actually looks or feels. Yeah, what is that?
Does it happen on multiple?
Yeah. What would that be?
That one doesn't want to come back up.
That might just be a bushing. Scott, what do you think this is?
Feels almost like a spring or something, but I don't know. Something's catching on something.
Could it be a knuckle hitting a neighbor?
Maybe.
Although the neighboring hammers aren't moving, are
Yeah, the next one is
they? Is it?
the one just higher than it.
Okay.
Yep.
That shouldn't be too bad to fix.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Hopefully just an alignment thing.
Yeah.
Or you can always resort, I have resorted in the past to just shaving off a little edge of the knuckle before if alignment doesn't quite work. Sometimes if you align if you move the whole shank too far one way, then it'll move the entire hammer, so then you can just kind of take a razor blade, or even if you want to, it doesn't look as nice, but you can sand it a little bit.
Yeah. When I was traveling, all of the, getting the jack to button and all of those little alignment things, that took a long time.
Yeah.
We were all fighting against each other.
Yeah,
It was really
frustrating.
obnoxious. Just all the new parts and stuff. Just
Right.
trying to get it to work.
Yeah. Well, let's spend some time working on dampers.
Okay.
Damper regulation.
Sounds good.
Okay.
The base is lift or whatever. Not lift, I guess.
Key.
True. Is pretty good. Probably just needs some finishing in that,
Mhm.
making them all the same. But the ends seem pretty good. And then this end seems pretty good, but then those three are like horrible.
Okay, so it's a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way soon. So that's actually holding the.
It's holding the damper,
The damper.
off the string
Right.
off.
Okay. Scott, would you grab the damper T-shaped thing and then the beanbag thing?
I had to cut the damper wires a whole bunch to get them to get far enough down to begin with. The new
Okay.
damper underlever things were totally different than the originals.
So I kind of like it.
If I remember right, this doesn't fit under
Good morning, Julio.
Buenos dias.
See?
If I'm remembering right, I tried using this earlier and it would not fit under there or there.
Really?
It would only work for the middle.
Okay.
And so I just used a different method.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
it didn't work the greatest. So
Right.
we'll have to. Yeah. And that was before I had everything else in, so I was just getting an estimate, which I was obviously totally wrong with.
Don't you? How do you do it, Scott?
So I just put these felt tuning wedges underneath the bar.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
And it
good.
just lifts them all at the same time instead
Yeah.
of section at a time.
that's good. Okay. Okay, so I like the back of the key to start to engage the damper lever when the key is maybe, or the hammer is like somewhere between 20 and 50% of the way to the string. That's where I like it.
Okay.
20 is maybe a little bit early, 50 is a little bit late, but they're still acceptable, I
Okay.
think.
So do you think these ones are maybe slightly late? Or do you like those?
I like it.
So do you like it that way because of how it affects the touch or what?
More function. The functioning of the damper.
Okay.
Where do you like it?
I usually go about half.
Yeah. My concern with I shoot for about 40%, and if it's more than 50, my concern is that it just there's not much room for error, and it might not lift
Yeah.
the damper high enough
That makes sense.
to ensure that the damper completely is clear of the string, especially when the string is vibrating a lot. And if it's like, if it's too late, if it's 70 or 80%, then it's just going to be barely above the string, and then there's a better chance that the vibrating string will, that the damper will interfere with the vibrating string. That's my feeling, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
There was a
but
couple
that's
bushing
just
errors that
bushing.
I tried to glue a little bit to fix them up, but they probably didn't get fixed very well, so that's probably it. Could
There
be.
wasn't enough glue on them.
Yeah, there was 2 of them that I found that it like came loose,
Oh, really?
and I think it was even like hanging. Sorry.
You should show Jonathan. He needs that feedback.
Okay.
Not to.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this was one of his first ones.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so I wasn't. I mean, he's probably learned by now,
Well,
but I could show him.
no, the
Just be
feedback's
"Hey."
good.
Yeah.
The feedback's good. Okay, so we need to go. Need to go later from about.
That one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, probably that one. So the third flat damper. Try a little later. That's a perfect fit.
Yeah, it's really close. I sanded the pin block from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
The screws in the flanges were actually scraping the bottom of the pin block. So,
The drop screws?
or not, well, some of the drop screws actually, but also just the
Just
flange screws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you can actually see, check this out, Bryce. So I said that
Yeah.
you can see it when you just push it very, very gently. You can see that that's the one that we decided we were going to start at. So watch that one. You see how that's the only one that's moving? And it was the third flat damper, right? And when you look up, sure enough, it's the third flat damper that's doing it. So, let's start out. You give me a pair of pliers, flat, like a flat nose. Yeah. And also a small screwdriver. Small flat slotted screwdriver. So we're going to get these so that even when you're this gentle and pushing up on the damper tray, they're going to all come up at exactly the same time.
Yep.
And then when you look on this side, and you look at the dampers, they're going to all come up at the same time. I mean, they're not that far, and this is probably way better than my first damper job.
I didn't ever like finish doing it.
Yeah.
I just put them in, did a rough estimate, and then left it because I knew it was going to be off anyways. When I get the stack and action in to actually check it. But
So this doesn't fit at all?
it does under there, just not the.
Oh, yeah, because of those things. Got it. So right now I'm adjusting the, maybe I'm old school liking this. And these two little feet, we know that this section down here is good. So now I'm adjusting the feet so that it's basically at that level. And I'll take it over here. Put it under, not all the way, but just so that it's kind of touching at the tips. And then this is supposed to simulate the weight of the flange under here, because I'm going to unscrew all of these. Okay, I find the third flat damper. This one. And loosen all of those set screws. Are the screws, or the damper wires, are they buried all the way?
What do you mean?
Are they touching? Is the damper wire touching the bottom of the hull?
I can't remember. Not in some of them.
Okay.
Because I had to cut them, and I was trying to not cut them too short.
Yeah.
Because I was really afraid of that.
Okay, so now it's touching the straight edge here.
I'm getting caught in the line.
Well, this one is not one that I loosened.
Okay.
So now these should be touching, and now we're gonna make sure that's touching. I'm going to use this screwdriver to, I'm not going to tighten it because when you tighten it too much, it can mess with things. It can like pull it up or twist it. And so I'm just going to use this to just put some pressure on it so that it basically stays, and we'll tighten it later as we refine. So I'm going to go to the first one, which is this one. And I'm just going to give it a little, it's right there. So I'm not tightening it, just kind of
Nice and snug.
not even nice and snug, just enough that it's going to hold it.
Caught.
Yeah. And we'll put the action back in just to test and see if we're on the right track. So before we refine this and make them all, because this is not going to be perfect. I mean, in theory, you'd think that it'd all be perfect and we're done now, but it's not. So I'm going to pull that away. Well,
Well, that actually is better than that.
yeah, it's pretty straight. Versus down here, it's
Got a few.
okay. So now we'll just make sure that we're on the right track. I think you replaced all of the, the key end felt, didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah. It wasn't too bad to replace those. Went pretty quick.
Okay, other than the twist, so obviously the twist is messed up, but that's okay, we'll fix that later. So go to the third one, the third flat damper, and that looks good. It looks like it's, I don't know, 30 or 40%. That one's slightly early, but still acceptable. This one, same thing. Okay, now these are too early, so I'm going to redo this. But I'm going to change the foot. I'll leave this because down at this end, they were all correct, and they just got worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to turn this foot down, right? I'll just guess. I'll turn it down.
You want the screw to go down, so then
Yeah.
this goes
So
up.
this goes up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave this dimension the same.
Okay.
And let's see what happens.
Sounds good.
And then we'll try it again. And then once we're confident that we have it basically at the right point, then we'll go in and we'll fix things like twist and making sure everything is even. Okay, so I just guessed, right, on where to put that. And now I'm going to say that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Because it's just not making much of a difference there.
Because you said it was happening in about like right here.
Yeah, right in there.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
not
where
moving those at all.
like this was right at 30 or 40%, and then this got down to like 10 or less, 5%. It was like you barely touched the key and that damper started to lift. So I'm gonna turn that down some more. Yeah, that's gonna be better. Let's go even a little more. Yeah, that looks good.
Hopefully the wires are cut enough
Yeah,
at this point.
right.
I'll get the cutters just in case.
Hey McKinley, do you want to kind of fix the twist a little bit so that those dampers are kind of basically aligned on the strings? Of that section, yeah.
Are they going down?
And now they're resting on the. So we want to be sure that it's resting, the dampers up here are resting on the strings because they can sort of, with the friction, even though the set screw is out, just kind of with the friction of the thing going in the hole, if there's any like upward, it can be slightly off the string. It just happens. I don't know why. So we want to be sure that the dampers are on the string firmly, and we want to be sure that the damper levers down here are firmly on this little jig. So now I'm going to do this again. Just give it a little.
Are all the strings actually for sure dampening?
We'll deal with that later. Right now, all we're trying to do is get it to lift at the right moment in the keystroke.
Or I meant just because the wire might be holding it up too high,
Because the wire is
too long.
too long.
That's what I was worried about.
And as I'm screwing this in, I don't know how necessary it is, but I'm kind of holding the damper lever down onto the jig as I tighten that. And that one definitely made a difference. Okay, so again, our twist is all messed up. That's okay. Yeah, that's nice. So now the damper starts to lift on this last one, the same as on this first one that we did. So they're all in the maybe 30 to 40% range, which is great. These ones might be slightly early. Okay, good. So we know we're in the right range. Kind of wavy. But I know that